And then coming up this weekend, the ECHC, the Evan Cohen Hibachi Cookout 2. The entire crew will be at my house for the Hibachi Cookout. My wife and I were having a debate last night. Did you guys last year? I said no, she said yes. See McSchnoot's grave?
No.
That's what I said.
No.
So for those who are unaware, unbeknownst to me, my daughter and I were having a catch. A ball rolls down a little hill in my front lawn, and then I see a gravestone on my front lawn for McSchnoot. We still have no idea what McSchnoot is. We assume it's an animal, and now we are going to, and it's not ours, and so you guys all are going to visit it. Will you take pictures next to the grave?
Obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to pour one out for McSchnoot.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Throw it up.
Back
So
to
yes,
Rihanna.
big week for us here on Unsportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Maybe a big week in Cincinnati, as maybe possibly the Trey Hendrickson deal is closer to being done, or maybe possibly the All-Pro defensive end just doesn't want to get fined anymore. As yesterday, we learned by way of Adam Schefter that the holdout is going to now become a hold in, where he's going to leave Florida and show up to Bengals camp. Guys, what do we make of this? Do we think that it is closer to getting done here?
No.
Okay,
and I don't understand why Trey Hendrickson decided to rack up all of these fines before he ultimately acquiesced to the Bengals' demands, which is getting his butt in training camp. If this was how it was going to end a week and a half later, you might as well have showed up. Mm-hmm. Ain't no new contract on the table. He hadn't signed a new deal. So I'm assuming that will happen later this preseason. But why rack up the fines? What are you talking about? $50,000 a day?
Yes.
Why rack up those fines over the last week and a half, knowing that you can't get that money back because the franchise does not have the ability to rescind the fines because you're on a veteran contract? It just makes no sense in terms of the overall strategy. I don't understand for the life of me why guys won't execute the blueprint, which is to show up and hold in. You don't get fined, but then you also don't participate in team activities in training camp. I don't know if they don't feel comfortable doing business that way, having to look those people eye to eye and tell them that you're not doing something. But that is the way of the world for the NFL right now. That is how you have to operate if you're on a veteran contract. You have to show up to training camp. They've effectively eliminated the holdout for guys on a veteran deal, but that doesn't mean that you can't hold in and withhold your services in order to move the team closer to your demands. Right now, it feels like Trey Hendrickson giving in a little bit more to the Cincinnati Bengals. And if you're his agent, that can't be a good feeling.
No, not at all. But isn't the agent the one that's guiding you through this process? And shouldn't the agent do what you said in the beginning and say, okay, if you're going to report at all, why not just do it at the outset so that we're not racking up any of these fines and we're setting the precedent? At least we know. But when we speak to Adam Schefter yesterday, past tense Adam Schefter yesterday, and he said they're not close and that it's initially further apart than he thought. I don't think that Trey Hendrickson showing up is indicating that the two sides are moving closer together. I think it's that he just doesn't want to be charged $50,000 every day that he misses.
Yeah, and I'm always of the belief that all these things get done. Like, just every holdout ultimately gets done. But strategy has changed here, right? I mean, the strategy was hold out. Now the strategy is hold in. I wouldn't put it past them if this doesn't work to hold out again, right? I mean, are you saying that there's no chance he goes back to Florida? Because I think there is.
No, I don't think he's going back to Florida. I don't think that's going to happen.
All right.
No, that's not going to happen.
Well,
and listen, I can think of a lot better ways to spend $250,000.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Fines over $250,000.
That's a lot of money.
For the stunt that he pulled at the start of training camp. When you just saw a teammate in Jamar Chase hold in last year. Now, they framed it behind some obscure injury, but that's what everybody does these days.
Terry McLaurin
has an ankle injury.
Which he may.
Michael Parsons has a back injury. You know,
I'm carrying the defense. My back hurts.
Jalen Ramsey executed this perfectly to shoot his way out of Jacksonville years ago.
2019.
Remember, he had a back injury, and he was like, I'm not practicing. I can't play. There's no way that a team's doctors can refute that my back is hurting me. No matter how many opinions, how many MRIs, how many x-rays they do, they can't prove my back don't hurt.
Yeah.
And guess what? Because I'm withholding services, because there is no value add to me being on the roster and I'm continuing to cash these checks, the team is ultimately going to move and do something that I want them to do, which is pay me or trade me. And that's exactly what happened to Jalen Ramsey. He got traded and paid. So I don't understand why players that are on veteran contracts don't understand that is how you have to do business in today's NFL.
So I want to follow up on something that you said that's interesting, because when we were talking about these negotiations, you say oftentimes it forces players to, or it preys on their love of the game.
No doubt.
And you said it's maybe he didn't hold in initially. He was holding out because it's hard to look your peers eye to eye and not participate in the same way. So how does that influence how these things will ultimately go? Because if you're there and you love the game, you're with your guys, you're getting in that rhythm of the season, does that maybe give the Bengals a little bit more leverage, because he obviously is a great teammate and wants to be out there?
Oh, it absolutely does, Smalls. And I said this last week, that teams weaponize that against players. Getting with your guys, not wanting to let them down, your passion to do the thing that you've done your entire life, which is play football this time of year. All of a sudden, we've removed those things because the business of football is getting in the way. Well, if you get around your teammates, then all of a sudden there's that pressure. You know, those guys are fighting, trying to build something in order to have the season end the way that everybody wants it to, which is holding up the Lombardi Trophy. And you, as an able-bodied person, are not participating. That is counterintuitive. And that's what the Cincinnati Bengals are banking on. And that's what all NFL owners depend on, which is why they made the rules in this latest collective bargaining agreement the way that they did.
And all of it, Cincinnati, when you say Cincinnati Bengals, 99% of the audience goes immediately to Joe Burrow, right? Like, that's always the focal point.
Yeah.
Trey Hendrickson is important because Joe Burrow is really good. Jamar Chase is unreal, and his relationship with Joe Burrow is really important. And the Bengals have struggled, obviously, since going to the Super Bowl a few years ago. Ryan Clark, ESPN NFL analyst, was on First Take yesterday and had this to say about Joe Burrow as it relates to the Bengals' struggles.
Joe Burrow takes none of the blame for the Cincinnati Bengals not making it to the playoffs. Let's just think about the seasons Joe Burrow has actually finished. In two of those seasons, you go to the AFC Championships, and one of those seasons you advance. And then you look at last year, and he's the best quarterback in the world, and it's not a conversation. I don't understand Chris's incessant need to make us not believe in Joe Burrow, or for Joe Burrow to not be a part of the conversation he has earned his way into being a part of. If they got 99 problems, Joe Burrow ain't one.
I think you're Chris.
What's up, Vikings Nation? This is Victor from Report Vikings, your go-to spot for everything Minnesota Vikings. And today, we've got a potential blockbuster coming down the pipeline. According to recent reports, a deal involving star edge rusher Trey Hendrickson is heating up. And guess what? The Minnesota Vikings are right in the middle of it. Yep, you heard me right. This isn't just a rumor anymore. Sources say the Vikings are in serious talks to land Hendrickson, and from what I'm hearing, this thing is closer to happening than anyone expected. Now here's the backdrop. Hendrickson and the Bengals have hit a major snag in contract talks. He's made it very clear. He's not playing under the final year of his current deal, which pays him $16 million. In fact, he even posted a video driving out of Ohio and heading to Florida. Yeah, it's that real. Even though ESPN's Adam Schefter reported they've got a framework deal in place, he also admitted there's still a big disagreement in guarantees, which means they don't really have a deal at all. And you know how this story usually ends. A trade is coming. Originally, PFSN predicted a trade sending Hendrickson to the Lions for a 2nd and 5th round pick in 2026. But here's where it gets way more exciting for us. Multiple sources now say the Minnesota Vikings are emerging as the leading NFC team in the mix, and talks are reportedly farther along than expected. We're not just kicking tires here. This thing has legs. Let's break this down. If the Vikings pull this off, we'd be pairing Hendrickson, who led the NFL with 17.5 sacks last season and finished 6th in pressure rate, with guys like Jonathan Greenard and Andrew Van Ginkel. Can you imagine that front? Brian Flores could have one of the nastiest pass rush units in the entire NFC, and that's not even hyperbole. Hendrickson's motor, technique, and consistency would take our defense to another level. Plus, let's not forget, and our defense collapsed late in key games last year. Adding a guy who just earned his first All-Pro selection could be the difference between a wild card exit and a deep playoff run. Now about the price. If we're talking a 2nd and 5th in 2026, honestly, I'd do it. We've got JJ McCarthy on a rookie deal. This is when you go all in, stack your defense, and make a run while your QB isn't costing you $40 million per year. Hendrickson is 30, but he's playing his best football ever right now. He's worth the price if it means pressuring Jared Goff, Jordan Love, and whoever Chicago throws out there twice a year. But now I want to hear from you, Vikings fans. Should the Vikings go all in and trade for Trey Hendrickson? Would you give up a 2nd and 5th for one of the best edge rushers in the league? Do you think he's the final piece to make our defense elite? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk it out. I'm reading every single one. And hey, if you're fired up like I am about the idea of Hendrickson in purple and gold, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and share this video with another Vikings fan who needs to know what's brewing in Minnesota. We're dropping updates all season long, trades, rumors, game previews, and you don't want to miss a second of it. This has been Victor with Report Vikings. Let's keep building this squad the right way. Skull Nation, I'm out.